Welcome to Local 4 Live, everybody. We have a lot to cover in the next 2 hours. We're getting a look at the efforts to fix up homes in Detroit and the programs available for people with leaky roofs, plumbing problems, and a lack of heat. And then the fallout from President Trump calling lawmakers' message to troops seditious, a conversation with Michigan Congresswoman Debbie Dingle about the political climate in the U.S. And finally, it wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. We're going to break down the Lions-Giants game and dig into whether we think the team can win against the Packers this Thanksgiving. Local 4 Live starts right now.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Let's start with your news headlines. Clinton Township Police and the Macomb County Sheriff's Department are both looking for a gunman after a shooting at the Partridge Creek Mall. This was during their tree lighting event. It was about 7 o'clock Sunday night near the MJR Theater. One person was shot, another person is in stable condition, and the shooter is still on the run. Priya Mann is following that story.
Police are still looking for the person who opened fire here at the mall at Partridge Creek. There were so many families here who were checking out a movie or checking out the tree lighting event that was happening Sunday evening. Many ran to their vehicles here in the parking lot. Others had to stay in the mall because doors were locked. Let me show you video from Sunday evening. Those first calls started coming in around 7 Sunday night about a shooting near MJR Theater. One person was hit. The victim is in stable condition. However, the shooter is still on the run this morning. Now, police say the shooting appears to have been an isolated incident and was not related to the tree lighting event happening at the mall on Sunday evening. We spoke to families, mall workers, people who were heading to the theater who described what happened after shots were fired.
This is not something you would think that would happen, especially during the holidays. The first thing I'm like, this is like the movies, but this is real life.
When we came out, his car was in the middle of the crime scene tape. He had to ask officers to even get to his own car.
Yeah, the jacket was like 6 feet from the front of my car.
Whose jacket?
The suspects.
And in a statement, a spokesperson for the mall says, we are currently working with local law enforcement to gather details on what occurred during tonight's tree lighting event. Clinton Township Police say there is no threat to the public, but that shooter remains at large. Anyone with information is asked to call police. Reporting in Clinton Township this morning, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Priya, thank you much. Police over in Oak Park are looking for a driver who hit and killed a veteran. A 71-year-old man was in a wheelchair when he was hit about 1:30 Saturday morning near 9 Mile and Harding. It took police about 4 hours to find him after the crash. They are looking for a dark-colored Kia or Hyundai. Take a look at your screen now. Anybody with information is asked to call Oak Park Police. That number is 248-691-7447. Happening later today, John Skelton, the man accused of kidnapping and killing his 3 sons, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner, well, he's going back to court. He's facing a probable cause hearing to determine if there's enough evidence to move this case forward. Skelton was about to finish a 15-year sentence for unlawful imprisonment when he was charged with murder. Court records reveal he searched online for ways to kill someone around the time his sons vanished in 2010. Also in court today, the people accused in the ambush shooting of a Macomb County businessman. Jason Martin, along with Dawn and Richard Huffman, are all accused of plotting and shooting Edward Jawad outside of his home. Investigators say the shooting was to cover up thousands of dollars embezzled from Jawad. Jawad was shot in the legs, but he survived. That hearing starts at 9 o'clock this morning. Taking a live look at downtown Detroit now. In a little over an hour, Mayor Mike Duggan, along with other city leaders, will be announcing some big changes coming to the city's bus system. They're unveiling a major overhaul, including a new bus fleet and union contracts to boost service and reliability. We're going to have more for you on what's happening in later editions of Local 4 News. Let's take a live look in Geneva, Switzerland right now. The U.S. and Ukrainian officials say they are making real headway towards a ceasefire to end the war in Ukraine. It's based on President Trump's 28-point plan originally from U.S. talks with Russia, but critics said that plan favored Russia too much. Now the Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. and Ukraine are adjusting the plan. Ukrainian President Zelensky says he is optimistic as talks move forward. Let's also take a live look now at Metro Airport, where thousands of people are expected to travel for Thanksgiving in a couple of days. According to AAA, more than 6 million people are going to hit the skies. And with the surge in travel, a new warning to passengers about cyber criminals trying to steal your data. Shantae Passmore is taking a look at the tactics thieves use when your guard is down at the airport.
Hey, listen, as soon as I get to any airport, I have my routine, right? I like to hop on the Wi-Fi and look for the nearest charging station. Turns out that's when cyber criminals like to strike.
Cybercrimes reaching new heights. The simple act of charging your phone could cost you.
Those ports, they don't only just transfer power, they also transfer data, and they can transfer data both ways.
It's called juice jacking. The FCC reports criminals can download malware onto public USB charging stations to target smart devices. Next, they can access online accounts or sell your info to other bad actors. While experts say it's difficult for the crooks to pull off, flyers tell us it leaves them feeling uneasy.
Very vulnerable. Yeah, it makes me feel vulnerable, and it's a little scary.
I hate it because somebody took my information before. Yeah, and tried to get me for 20 grand.
That's not the only risk at airports. This IT and cybersecurity expert says phony free Wi-Fi networks.
What happens is that other bad actors can actually be spoofing that Wi-Fi, and maybe instead of DTW visitor, it says DTW_visitor, and it's actually a fake Wi-Fi network.
Once you're on the fake network, he says it's too late. Your device is compromised. The cyber threats causing turbulence for flyers.
If these criminals spent that little bit of time doing something positive, the world would be a much better place.
So true, right? Okay, so some good news. If you do fly out of DTW, it tells us that all of its public charging stations are power only. They're not connected to any data network, but you're still advised to check the ports before using. Also, we did poke our heads around some of the major airports around the U.S. to see what they do. LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK, all ran by the same port authority, tells us cybersecurity is very serious to them, and they often check to make sure that nothing has been tampered with. But we do have some tips for you that we want to share right there on your screens. So what do you need to do to prevent being juice jacked or prevent juice jacking in general? Well, as much as people like myself like to delay, it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and get the latest software update for your device, because what it should ask you when you plug into charge, something effective, hey, do you trust this device or charge only? Make sure you select the charge only option. Also a good idea to just go ahead and invest in an external battery pack, and also be sure to use a charging only cable. Now, as far as detecting a phony Wi-Fi network, look, if you're just not sure, don't hop on. Also, probably a good idea to use a VPN as well. We're at Metro Airport. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
All right, Shantae, thank you so much. Taking a look at home repairs in the city of Detroit. $50 million pumped into homes, roofs, plumbing, electrical, the usual issues. Coming up next, a live interview on how the Gilbert Family Foundation is partnering with the city of Detroit to help Detroit homeowners when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's go back downtown now, where we are getting a detailed look at the city's home repair efforts and how the Gilbert Family Foundation's Detroit Home Repair Fund has helped Detroit homeowners. In 2024, they completed more than 3,000 repairs worth more than $50 million. That fund helped more than 600 homes and 1,300 Detroiters stay in their homes. Now, most homes are nearly 100 years old with serious issues like leaking pipes, bad plumbing, no heat. Almost half of the households have older adults or someone with a disability, and repairs can obviously cut falls among seniors by 80%. Now, roof plumbing and HVAC repairs lead the way with what needs to be repaired, with the average cost for repairs about $28,000 per home. So to join me more about how all this is working out is Heather Zygmuntovich. Did I get it right?
You did. You did.
I practiced so hard. She's a senior housing advisor with the City of Detroit's Housing and Revitalization Department. And then Darnell Adams, he is the vice president of the Detroit Community Initiatives for the Gilbert Family Foundation. Thank you both for coming in. This partnership obviously is really helping Detroiters with something that is such a basic yet such expensive need, like plumbing, a roof, electricity, things that we need in our homes, but they hit us in the pocketbook, obviously. How did this kind of partnership come together when the city and the foundation realized that this is something we have to address?
Yeah, I mean, I would say when we first launched the Detroit Home Repair Fund in 2022, it was in close coordination with the city of Detroit. We had Renew Detroit, which Heather was overseeing at the time at the city, and then we were launching the Detroit Home Repair Fund at the same time. What we learned is that we really needed to make sure that we were coordinating, speaking the same language, and measuring the same outcomes for each program. And so I think over time we just started, Heather actually just grabbed it at the helm and said, like, we need to coordinate across.
Heather took over, basically.
Yeah, which is great from the city side.
Yeah. When you're looking at the residents in the city of Detroit, again, these are some basic issues that cost a lot of money, and probably a lot of people would have to let some repairs go by the wayside.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. We know that the problem is huge. We create programs all the time. Gilbert Family Foundation funded the Detroit Home Repair Fund. The city's done Renew Detroit. It has lead money. It has Healthy Homes money.
Yep.
Part of what we did with this 2024 home repair census was actually pull all of the partners together in the city, not just the city, not just Detroit Home Repair Fund, but all of us. Because if you didn't know, that report's going to tell you there are over 30 organizations that are delivering home repairs. And this is our first attempt to not only measure it, but figure out how we can systematically work together better.
Right. And I'm sure as a homeowner or a resident in the city, having all those resources is a great thing. However, knowing which one to go to or who to call, probably a little challenging.
Yeah, understatement of the century. I think we're all trying to figure out, the North Star, like the gold ticket is, how do you have one front door? How do you find a way where if I'm a resident who needs help, there's one place to go? Yeah. We're not there yet, but these are the types of things, the building blocks that we have to put in place in order to get there eventually.
Gotcha, okay. And then from the foundation's perspective, obviously pouring money into the community is exactly what the entire foundation's mission is, helping people out here. But it must mean something more to you and everybody else behind the scenes, where you can help somebody with, again, the most basics of need, just to be able to go home and feel good about it.
Yeah, that's right. And what we really care about is making sure every resident, especially the Gilbert Family Foundation, we want to make sure everybody has a stable footing when it comes to housing stability. That's what we care about the most, and we want it to be easy. We tied this program together with the city's home tax abatement program.
Property tax
Hope. We call it Hope. It used to be H-tab exemption, but now it's Hope. But essentially, we want families to not only get these home repairs, but we want them to also have some tax relief. So we try to couple as many programs as we can together. And the Detroit Home Repair Fund, we've delivered over 6,000 home repairs, over 600 homes. But the most important thing is that we have empowered more than 15 nonprofits on the ground level who are doing these home repairs.
Really?
These are nonprofits in the communities who are engaging with residents, closest to residents, and helping them with these home repairs. And then once they're done with those home repairs, they can then tie them to other services that they provide.
Gotcha. Heather, any idea on how many people, maybe just a best guess, maybe were able to stay in their home because these repairs were able to be made, they could focus their money on paying the mortgage, paying the rent, things like that?
I mean, That's a question that we try to ask all the time, right?
Right.
Like we try to, part of this whole initiative is like, how do we get a better understanding of what our work is doing on the field?
Yep.
And I would say that out of the 2,628 homes that we know we touched last year, citywide across all 30 organizations, I'd say that helped every single one of them stay in their home.
Right.
Like we know that Detroiters need more help doing this, and this is a really concerted effort for all of us to work together.
Okay, so let's look forward to, obviously we got 2025. You'll get the numbers at the end of the year. How do we keep the momentum going? How do we keep growing this and also keep track better so we know exactly what we're doing?
That's a great question. So I'll, in my travels over the last couple of years, what I'm finding is that us actually capturing this work collectively, we are the only city in the U.S. that is doing that.
That blows my mind. I don't understand why we weren't keeping track of what we were doing.
It's not that I think everybody was keeping track individually, and everybody's saying,
but collectively, everyone together.
Right.
And so when you go to other cities, all these cities right now are kind of saying, I think we need to work better together. Like first work together, then we need to work better together.
Yeah.
And everybody's having that momentum to start thinking about it. I think we're the first ones that said, this is actually the body of work that we're doing. Now let's start tracking it on a regular basis so we can see the trends, we can understand who is getting where, and then we can actually be much more strategic in the partnerships that we create and how we ultimately deliver better results for Detroiters when we're going into their homes.
And not to get too much into the weeds, but from the foundation's perspective, when you were able to see the numbers on paper, does it help you kind of really understand how you're helping, and then maybe say, maybe we can put some more in now?
Yes, and I think this is what we expected to find, is that there are a lot of silos, a lot of programs. Like the Detroit Home Repair Fund has over 12 additional home repair programs that are leveraged with our foundation dollars. So to Heather's point, seeing it on the table, we can now say, like, okay, let's coordinate, let's be more strategic, because when you think about a home repair or a home being repaired, it's like a capital stack for a real estate development. You have all of these different resources that need to go in to make that thing happen. So that's what this is all doing now.
One more question, Heather, and I'm sorry, producer Mary, she always tells me to stop, and I never do. You talked about the front door approach, where you've got one place to go. What's your best guess on when you think you can get everybody at the table and really make that happen? Okay, best guess of what is can really happen? What you want and what reality is.
I'm like, we do not have enough time for that. There's so much that needs to happen. I think that you have some really phenomenal pieces going into play. I think that Detroit Home Repair Fund has shown how all these different nonprofits are delivering the same program, but they're doing it in their own neighborhood way. We also have the city delivering at high volume in their programs. You have the Detroit Housing Network that is providing some coalitioning around that. So I think there are so many steps to take. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of years, we'll be able to deliver something that really brings it all together.
That's the greatest thing about Detroit, is that you can walk around and talk to people and you find out that there are so many grassroots effort, community-based programs happening to help people. But to your point, maybe getting them all under one umbrella to get the right support, and you can boost them from underneath and lift everyone at the same time. That's the goal. We'll get there.
Definitely the goal.
We'll get there. Heather's in charge.
Yes.
Putting it on you. Yeah, right? Okay, thank you so much for coming in, both of you. We appreciate your time. If you do need to get out to put those holiday lights up, you might want to hit the grocery store or rake the leaves, because today is the day to do it. Ashley is tracking rain, wind, and snow for the entire week. But first, let's take a look at the big house. We're going to head to the history books for a moment that defined the victors when we come back. Who's in the control room right now? Who's pressing music? Producer Mary is very upset by this story right now. Heading into the history books today, and this one is for Ashley and all you U of M fans out there. On this day, way back in 1898, a true hit was born. That's when this Louis Elbow, he penned the Victors. Producer Mary, are you okay in there? She's so angry. Wow. So many swear words at once, Mary. Good Lord.
Oh my goodness. I had a producer, Mary, in Ohio that was an Ohio State alum.
Oh,
so all my producer Marys, they don't like this song. But my kids know how to sing the Victors.
I'm sure they do. One of the things I look forward to in your forecast, and I listen very intently, is when you say the pick day of the week. It's right now?
It's right. It's today.
Okay. It's now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, maybe not this morning because we're still on the chillier side, but you can see the sun is out there for now. Clouds thicken up, but we will get into the 50s today without dealing with rain throughout the daylight hours.
It's all downhill from there.
It is, pretty much. So yeah, 32 degrees in the city as we're taking a live look from our Windsor sky cam.
Freighter rolling by.
Freighter going by. 18 degrees in Ann Arbor. Whew, chilly for the students out in Ann Arbor today. 27 in Port Huron, 26 in Adrian. So we are starting at or below the freezing mark. Now you can see the cloud cover down to our southwest. That is moving our direction, so the clouds will increase as the day rolls on ahead of that rainmaker that you see down to the south that will work its way into our area come Tuesday. So rain showers turning a little breezier, even though we're in the 50s tomorrow, much like today, getting into the 50s, but it comes with the rain. So that's why today's the pick day. And then we start the tumble. Whipping winds Wednesday into the 30s for Thanksgiving and breezy. So we'll get to that part of the forecast, especially for folks that'll be along the parade route with us come Thursday. But let's start with travel impacts for today, because maybe some folks are getting an early start to their travel, because this is a busy travel time with Thanksgiving approaching, and moderate impacts from the western portion of the Midwest down towards Texas because of that rain system I showed you. Could bring some flash flooding in areas and some thunderstorms. So that's why there's that moderate impact, not just by air, but by car as well. Come Tuesday, that stronger upper level low will work its way towards the Great Lakes and to the eastern U.S. And so that gives us the rain from Michigan up towards the New England region, and that will bring more of the moderate impact shifting eastward from, I would say, the Great Lakes down to the Gulf states. Now, if you look at that red, that's just the northern tier of Minnesota that'll have a higher impact. So check your flights if you're going to be traveling that direction to see if there are going to be any delays tomorrow. But today, 52 degrees for the afternoon high with clouds thickening up. Not overly breezy today. It's going to be the stronger cold front Wednesday that really brings the whipping winds. But as far as the rain, some of that could arrive as early as 11 p.m. in our far southwestern counties tonight. But then it'll be widespread, overtaking the area for the morning rush hour drive and into the afternoon, which means you might want to give yourself an extra couple minutes on the roads tomorrow morning. Here's those winds. Gusting upward of 35 miles per hour on Wednesday, staying breezy Thursday. So those travel impacts for Wednesday shift over to the eastern seaboard. And then your Thanksgiving forecast here, well, 30s, cold, breezy, and blustery at times with a few lake effect flurries. In fact, along the parade route, those wind chill readings will be upper teens to low 20s. And you can see how we have a couple little lake effect snow bands that persist throughout your Thursday, Friday. A little drier Saturday for folks going to the big house, and then a bigger system arrives come Sunday. And that's going to be a wintry mix, and there are a lot of people that travel Sunday, and so that might kind of slow things down across the Midwest and the plains for the tail end of that 7-day forecast.
I'm thinking lots of layers for Thanksgiving morning.
Lots of layers.
Oh boy. Okay, thanks, Ash. The political climate is heating up, though, on Capitol Hill. A live look in Washington, where a Michigan lawmaker is defending a message she gave to troops, while President Trump calls it seditious behavior. That's next. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. We could learn more about 3 people accused of plotting to kill a Macomb County businessman today. Richard and Dawn Huffman are accused of hiring Jason Martin to kill the man. The victim, Eddie Jawad, was shot outside of his home but survived. All 3 are due in court at 9 o'clock for a preliminary exam. The prosecution should be presenting evidence in that case to determine if there is enough to move that case forward. Local 4 Live is back with 90 more minutes on Local 4 Plus and click on Detroit. Politics heating up after President Trump calls a lawmaker's message seditious. We're going to hear from Congresswoman Debbie Dingle. The Lions got a win. It wasn't pretty, but it's a win. Can they beat the Packers, though, on Thanksgiving? And with Thanksgiving this coming week, we're going to share Black Friday saving tips from an expert. Also, Ashley will be back here on Local 4 with a look at your forecast in just a few minutes. Keep it right here with Local 4 and Local 4 Plus.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
And welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. We're going to start this half hour with a live look at Capitol Hill, where a group of Democratic lawmakers say they're fearing for their lives after President Trump accused them of sedition. This happened Thursday last week after the lawmakers posted a video encouraging members of the military not to follow illegal orders. One of those lawmakers, Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin, who says she now has a security team with her. Our Jason Colthorpe talked to another Michigan lawmaker, Congresswoman Debbie Dingle.
And Congresswoman Debbie Dingle is with us this morning. Congresswoman, thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here. I want to get your reaction to this Trump-Slotkin dust-up, and I feel like dust-up's not even close enough to a strong enough word here. Not just what was your reaction, but is this something you could ever envision yourself doing, talking to the troops and issuing a warning like this?
You know, I'm not a veteran, and I was not in the CIA. We each have our areas of expertise, and she felt strongly with her fellow veterans that they did that. But I am going to say that I don't think that the President of the United States should be threatening death towards any member of Congress, House or Senate. And having had the president go after me in a very different way, I know what the consequences are, and they can be devastating and chilling.
Yeah, and that's right before you came on, we talked about the added security they now all have 24/7, and we've seen political violence recently, so we know these types of threats have huge consequences. I'm going to play devil's advocate though. From the Democrat side, when they come out and stir up, they know this is going to stir up a hornet's nest with the president by saying this is talking to the troops in this way, and we should point out there's a part of what the oath they take. They know they can't follow orders that violate the Constitution. By saying this, is this akin to the president saying, hey, we got to go down to Congress right now and fight like hell on January 6th? Is it different or in that same arena?
Look, I don't put it in the same arena, because I think the president did encourage people to go to Capitol Hill, and you saw what happened. The country watched it. Quite frankly, the country knew better what was happening around us, because we were, in an undisclosed location without televisions. And I don't think any of us should be encouraging violence at any time or any place. I think these veterans took an oath, served in the military, and they took a course of action that 6 of them agreed upon, and they felt strongly. So I just don't think that what's playing out is good for them, the country, and I don't think the president should be threatening them with death. It just has very, 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 very dire consequences.
Yeah. In a time we should be taking the temperature down, this definitely doesn't do that. Earlier this week, the Epstein files now officially cleared to be released this week. I know you voted for that and had said you would. Do you think we will end up getting a full view of those documents?
I think that we all need to be a bit skeptical when we are dealing with this government. You know what the vote was. In the House, there was only one Republican that did not vote for it, and in the Senate, it was unanimous. It now lays with and the president has signed it. A lot of people want to see what's in those files. We have talked to many of the survivors. I have met with them over the course of several years. There are many people that know some of what is in those files. And I hope that we do see all of them. You've already seen things come to light. And look, there have been consequences on both sides. Larry Summers should have stepped aside. One of my colleagues is being held accountable on the Democratic side for her texting with him. We're going to see many things come out like that. And trust me, I know the Republicans are going to try to ensure that the Democrats that are involved in this are made public. And I think they should be held accountable. I think everybody that had anything to do with this disgusting pedophile behavior should be held accountable. I don't know what's going to be held back. I hope that it's not. And I hope there are enough FBI agents that have looked at these files over the years that there will be a certain amount of accountability. And you've talked to, like you said, many victims. Are there some who maybe this all isn't released because there are some that need to be protected yet? I think that it's important that those that want to have their names protected are. And there are others who are willing to talk about it and are willing to talk about what has happened to them in their life because of what happened to them. You know, this is different, but I'm going to use it as an analogy that I was a child that grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. And I never talked about it. I was embarrassed by it. I was afraid people would think less of me. I had family members involved. And when we were on the floor of the house, John Lewis happened to know some of the history. And I got up and talked about it for the first time. And I know that when I talk about what happened, that it helps remove the stigma and helps bring, transparency to an issue that some people don't want to talk about. I think it's the same for those that were victims of Jeffrey Epstein and the many people that were complicit in what he did. And I think some people have, I mean, everybody's got the right to privacy, to never have to talk about it. But some people do want to talk about it. And people that were pedophiles, that did unbelievable damage to young girls, should be held accountable.
Yeah. Let me ask you about something that's happened in the state this week. Several Republicans calling on the federal Department of Justice to oversee next year's elections in the state. They don't think Jocelyn Benson can be impartial because she's on the ballot. You're also on the ballot next year. So I want to ask you, do you worry that she can't be fair in this, or is this just playing politics?
I think it's playing politics. Ruth Johnson, who's in the state Senate, was on the ballot when she ran for a second time, and she did a good and fair job of overseeing those elections, and did it, I think, in her second term as well. Secretary of State's, Republican and Democrat across this country, have traditionally overseen that. Last year, people commended Michigan for the transparency and the balance in overseeing these elections. And I think bringing in this time, with this particular administration, having the Justice Department oversee elections in Michigan brings a level of political involvement, and people would question the independence of them as well, and that we should stick to a safe, tried and true system. And by the way, Donald Trump won Michigan in 2016, and I told people that that was going to happen. And, you know, so we have fair Secretary of States here.
Yeah, I often do ask Republicans, why wouldn't have all the Democrats won if something is not on the up and up? You're going back to Alyssa Slotkin. She and Haley Stevens called for the end of presidential pardons this week. Do you agree with that?
I need to study that issue much more. I'm very worried about the kinds of pardons that we're seeing coming out of this current White House. I am very concerned by, we don't know what kind of money is connected with them in the way of campaign contributions or investments in political deals. And I think we need far more transparency than we have right now.
Could also make a case that Joe Biden had some questionable ones as well, too, correct?
That's my, so I think we got to study the issue, and they came about for a reason, and there are probably some people that, and probably there were, that were subjects of political target or were unfair, but there are people that have been pardoned by Republicans and Democrats and Republicans, that one has to really ask the question why.
Yeah. I have 20 seconds. I was wondering, where are you on? We've seen these data centers pop up and residents pushing back, including one in your district in Saline Township. What are your thoughts on these data centers? I have 30 seconds.
That the public needs and has a right to have comments. That DTE to say that they wanted to have an expedited process without public comment is absolutely inexcusable, and that when these data centers are making promises that there will not be rate increases, that they're going to use advanced energy technology, when they're going to protect the water, how do we ensure that promises made are promises kept?
Congresswoman Debbie Dingle, Michigan's 6th District. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you can watch the entire episode of Flashpoint here on Local 4 Plus. Click on Detroit.com and on our YouTube page. Well, everyone expected it to be a blowout, but the Giants proved to be a tougher foe than they should have been. Next, we're going to break down the game and talk about whether the Lions can beat the Packers come Thursday when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. A live look over Ford Field right now, where the focus now is all about the Green Bay Packers and Thanksgiving. On Sunday, overtime was needed, but the Lions finished with a 34-27 win over the Giants. It was the Jahmyr Gibbs show, running for a career-high 219 yards, a franchise record of 264 scrimmage yards. His third TD was the biggest, a 69-yard run in overtime. Jake Bates also drilled a 59-yard field goal with under 30 seconds to force that overtime. On fourth down in overtime, Aiden Hutchinson was able to sack Jameis Winston for the walk-off.
And you guys just kept swatting it back, man, buying your time, and we made the stop we needed to. Hutch, great job there at the end. It was unbelievable. Our offense when we needed it, Bates, all that. We'll get to this here in a minute, but I'm telling you, man, you don't know how to ride it. You don't know what's going to happen. You just find a way to win, okay? You find a way to win. The big thing this week is going to be Green Bay, right? We got about 3 days off here. Not 3 days off, but 3 days to get ready for it. All right, and then we go 2-0. We go 2-0, all right? We just won one. One of three, basically, at home. That's a way to just hang in there, man, and find a way. All right, we got to clean some up, too, along the way while we get ready for Green Bay. All right, give me this. Here, game ball. All right, the first one here, I'm not even going to go through stats. Hutch.
Well, he said it. You got to clean it up. That Thanksgiving game starts at 1 o'clock. Jack White will be headlining that Thanksgiving Day halftime show. Dan Campbell said it best. They've got to work on a lot of things here. Joining me to talk about what they did to work on is Derek Hutchinson. We've got our executive producer from our Click on Detroit team and Detroit Sports Plus. That game should not have been anywhere near what it turned into.
No, not at all.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Even looking at fourth quarter, the Giants had an opportunity. If they would have kicked that field goal at the very end, instead of going for the touchdown and going in, that would have been it, right? That could have been it.
If they scored a touchdown?
No, if Green Bay would have, not Green Bay, if the Giants would have kicked their field goal when they were at the very end.
Sure, but I get why they didn't. First of all, you're a 2-9 team, so you have absolutely nothing to lose, right? And the play that really hurt them, I thought, was the third down play there, because they were on the 3-yard line. They lost 3 yards. So now fourth down, suddenly you're from the 6 instead of from the 3. But in the Giants' mind, if you kick a field goal there, you're up 6. Right. You're kicking off to the Lions. The Lions are probably starting on like the 30, 35-yard line.
With about 3 minutes left or so. Yeah.
And you know Dan Campbell's going to go for fourth down, so they've got 4 downs. I don't know. It's a tough argument. I do get why they did it, and for them, it probably just felt like, you know what? If we could just get 6 yards right here, we've won this game. Like we pulled off a big upset. Yeah. Whereas the equation gets a little more complicated if you kick that field goal. So it obviously did not work out for them, thanks to Jake Bates. But yeah, I get why they did it.
All right, so we don't have all the time in the world here, but what went wrong?
Yeah, how long is this segment? Most of the things that you and I talked about last week coming off the Philadelphia loss held true again in this game, except for, the running game got going because Jahmyr Gibbs was amazing. But the Lions are having a hard time protecting Jared Goff. On defense, they actually showed some flaws, especially on third down. They just couldn't get any pressure on Jameis Winston. He's a third-string quarterback, but he's also a guy with a big arm who can make plays if you give him time, and the Lions knew that. So the fact that they really couldn't get any pressure on him until overtime was probably the biggest concern that I had coming out of that.
We had, at the beginning of the season, so much momentum, right? And we still kind of do. But to hear the Lions fans boo the team in the game, that tells you that there is some legitimate concern now.
Yeah, they were frustrated. It was, after the first 2 drives, they didn't score. And they were expecting this to be, like a vintage Lions bounce back game where they drop 45 on a bad team and it's over by halftime. And clearly that was not the case. I think Lions fans are a little bit nervous, and rightfully so. The Lions were bad for so long, and then these last 3 years, they've sort of been climbing towards what we all think is going to be a Super Bowl run. And if you lose to the Giants yesterday, they're probably not making the playoffs this year. So then you're starting to think about, did the window close already? How far are we from getting back to a playoff caliber roster? So this was a pretty critical moment, and I get why fans are frustrated.
How narrow is that window now?
It's hard to say. You look at what Chicago did this offseason, where they basically rebuilt an entire offensive line, and you're like, if they can do it, Brad Holmes can do it. Sure. But it feels like there's a lot of pressure on this year.
But look who Chicago has now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ben Johnson. I mean, their offense is looking a lot better, right? So, Yeah, I don't think the Lions window is necessarily closing, but I do think that maybe Brad Holmes got a little bit complacent with his off seasons, whether it was the draft, whether it was free agency, because some of the holes that the Lions have neglected are starting to show. And in my opinion, the Lions are going to have a hard time overcoming them to win a Super Bowl.
Right. Okay, so let's just look at Thanksgiving Day. Packers coming to Ford Field. What do we need to do to try to guarantee that win? Just one game at a time here.
Yeah. Well, the Packers similarly struggled with the Giants a couple weeks ago. So it's not like the Lions are major underdogs or anything like that. But all of the matchup problems that the Packers gave the Lions in the first week of the season still exist. I mean, they still have a great pass rush. The Lions are even more hobbled on the offensive line than they were in week 1. So they got to find a way to keep Jared Goff clean. Because when you can keep Jared Goff clean, when you can get into a little bit of an offensive rhythm early, you see what Jahmyr Gibbs can do. I mean, he just ran for 200 yards. So if the Lions can establish a little bit of a running game early, or maybe it's in the short passing game, that would make the Packers, that would make them a little less likely to be as aggressive in the pass rush and could make the offense click.
And if you're the defense, are you looking at better ways to protect Goff? Because we know that under pressure, not as great as he could be.
Yeah, they have to shore up the interior of that offensive line, and they need to get the ball out quickly, because when Goff gets hit a few times, we saw what happened to him in Philadelphia.
Right.
I mean, even when he wasn't under pressure, he was hearing those footsteps and he wasn't accurate.
Right. Okay. We'll see what happens on Thanksgiving. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go to court, actually. A live look over Brooklyn right now, where a former Detroit Pistons player is going to federal court for an alleged NBA rigged poker game scheme. That's next. Welcome back, everybody. A live look now over New York City, where later today, former Piston and head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, Chauncey Billups, will be in a federal court in Brooklyn. He's going to be formally charged in a massive rigged NBA poker game scheme. Billups, along with 30 others, including former NBA players and members of the Mafia, are facing charges in this multi-state poker operation. Prosecutors say they used high-tech cheating tools like card-reading contact lenses, X-ray poker tables, and special poker chips to defraud victims out of millions. Billups is facing fraud and money laundering conspiracy charges and is expected to plead not guilty. He is currently suspended from his coaching duties. Now to Wisconsin, where police have captured the woman convicted in the Slender Man stabbing case. Morgan Geyser was convicted in the infamous Slender Man stabbing case at the age of 12. Geyser and another girl stabbed classmates to please the fictional character. Both pleaded guilty and were sent to mental health facilities. Now 23, Geyser was granted conditional release this year, but cut off her monitoring bracelet and ran from a group home Saturday night. She was found 12 hours later at a truck stop in Illinois. The holiday week is bringing some big changes to the weather. Today is a good day. The rest of it, not so much. Actually tracking that roller coaster from above average temps to rain, maybe even some snow. Welcome back, everybody. 8:53 here on your Monday morning. It doesn't feel like a Monday. I'm not sure why. Does it feel like a Monday for you?
I don't know. I think because it's a shorter week for a lot of folks, it just kind of feels different.
It feels different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The air is going to feel different too on Thanksgiving, which I'm not very pleased about.
You're not wrong there. Man, I always kind of remember when Thanksgiving was because my daughter's birthday is in November and sometimes it falls on Thanksgiving. This is a late Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right.
I thought, oh man, if like today's date was Thanksgiving, it would have been perfect. I mean, it's still cool this morning. I mean, Ann Arbor's
but
at
50s
18.
later, right?
50s later, yeah, it would have been
That
nice.
would be the thing.
I know, but we can't be picky. I mean, we don't make the weather, even though Tony Michaels keeps texting me thinking I do. Come on, warm it up, Ash, warm it up. Sorry, Tony. I'd give you 70 and sunshine if I could, but we'll make sure everyone's prepared for it. So 32 degrees at City Airport, 18 in Ann Arbor, 28 in Port Huron, 26 in Adrian. So it is a chilly start, but don't let it fool you. We will be warming things up today. Clouds increase, so you're getting the sunniest part of the day right now and then cloudier by this afternoon. It's ahead of that rainmaker down to the south that will bring us rain chances for your Tuesday. And tomorrow we're back in the 50s, but it comes with the rain. So that's why today's the pick day, because it's dry in 50s. So you get one more day to get some of that outdoor decorating done if you have a window to do that today. 50s Tuesday, within 48 hours, we fall into the 30s for Thanksgiving. So that's that big shift. We go from warmer to much colder within a very short span this week. Travel impacts for today come from that low pressure system where we were just tracking the rain coming out of Texas. So the yellow that you see across portions of the country would be a moderate impact. That doesn't mean you're absolutely going to see a delay. And this is also by air and by land. So if you're driving, I think that's where you get the bigger impact because, you know, planes can fly through this stuff, but you're going to have slower speeds if you're driving through rain. Come Tuesday, that stronger upper level low pushes into the Great Lakes and portions of the New England region. And so you start to see that yellow, the moderate impact shift. And it includes the Midwest all the way down to the Gulf. And it's going to be that northern tier of Minnesota that has the higher impact come tomorrow. Hourly forecast for today, just clouds thicken up, 52 degrees for the afternoon high. And as we show you when that rain arrives, probably not till closer to midnight. Around 11 p.m. we start to see it down to our southwest. Then it starts to overtake the area by the time we get to daybreak tomorrow. And I would say that morning rush hour drive will be a little slower tomorrow because of the rain. Sticks with us in the afternoon, but by the evening becoming more isolated. Winds pick up after that. We have a stronger cold front arriving Wednesday. So by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, we're talking 35 to 40 mile per hour gusts, and we'll still have some stronger gusts for Thursday. Travel impacts on Wednesday, mainly off on the East Coast, as that whole system will be off to the east. But let's talk about Thanksgiving here close to home on Thursday, as we're in the 30s, still a little breezy. We could have a few lake effect snow flurries flying. But, you know, the 30s are a little misleading because this is what it's going to feel like along the parade route. Upper teens and low 20s will be the wind chill. So wind chills remain a factor throughout your Thursday. Nick's so excited about it. We have lake effect snow bands starting Wednesday night. They'll be off and on all the way through the holiday. I think a bit drier Saturday, but we have a wintry mix arriving on Sunday, and that's pretty widespread across the country, so that could make travel a bit tricky, especially in the Midwest and the northern plains. But speaking of Saturday, there's kind of a big game happening in Ann Arbor on Saturday, and if you are heading to the Ohio State-Michigan game, go blue. We will be mostly cloudy and right around 30 degrees at kickoff. So your full forecast does show a little bump in temperatures Sunday, but it comes with that wintry mix. If you're traveling, you know, just use some caution come Sunday.
What about the balloons on Thanksgiving morning?
So yeah, all morning I've been saying I'm keeping a very close eye on that. I have to check with Tony on what the threshold is. I don't know if it's above 20 mile per hour gusts or if it's 30. I always forget every year, but I want to make sure that I double check that because we are definitely on that threshold, if not stronger than that. So I think sometimes you still see the balloons are just not high up. They just keep them a bit lower.
We don't need to be floating away.
That's right. That would be an awfully big balloon. Can you imagine just driving around Metro Detroit and you're like, whoa, look at that. Like
clown hole on that balloon.
Like, look at that SpongeBob in the sky or Captain Underpants. Isn't it Captain Underpants we see every year? So yeah.
Thanks. So much more to come in the next hour. The Black Friday sales have already started, but not everything is a good deal. We're going to chat with a money-saving expert about what to buy, what to avoid. And then we're keeping an eye on that hearing starting soon in the murder for hire plot targeting a Macomb Township businessman. And we know gun violence has impacted far too many lives here in Michigan. Now, a group is out with recommendations on solutions to the problem. More news, more weather, more Local 4 Live coming up next. So much to talk about in our next hour of news. Right now, we are getting our first look at a report addressing gun violence in Michigan. It's now the leading cause of death among children and teens in the U.S. What a panel of experts say could be done to make things safer inside of homes, schools, and all public spaces. Then we're watching that court case in the murder for hire plot targeting a Macomb County businessman. We're going to get you up to speed on that. Plus, is your email inbox already flooded with Black Friday deals? We're going to talk to a money-saving expert about which ones are worth your time and how to leverage AI to get the best deal. Local 4 Live starts now.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Right now, Clinton Township Police, along with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office, are looking for the person who shot somebody at Partridge Creek. Police say the shooting happened in Clinton Township near the MJR Theater around 7 o'clock last night. Priya Mann reports what we know so far.
Police are still looking for the person who opened fire here at the mall at Partridge Creek. There were so many families here who were checking out a movie or checking out the tree lighting event that was happening Sunday evening. Many ran to their vehicles here in the parking lot. Others had to stay in the mall because doors were locked. Let me show you video from Sunday evening. Those first calls started coming in around 7 Sunday night about a shooting near MJR Theater. One person was hit. The victim is in stable condition. However, the shooter is still on the run this morning. Now, police say the shooting appears to have been an isolated incident and was not related to the tree lighting event happening at the mall on Sunday evening. We spoke to families, mall workers, people who were heading to the theater who described what happened after shots were fired.
The only thing we did see was people running frantically, so we shut down the store we were in and went in the back and just hid there.
I was so confused, and then these girls came in and they laid on the floor, and I was a little confused and I was like, what's going on? And then she was like, I don't know, I just heard pop, pop, pop.
And in a statement, a spokesperson for the mall says, we are currently working with local law enforcement to gather details on what occurred during tonight's tree lighting event. Clinton Township Police say there is no threat to the public, but that shooter remains at large. Anyone with information is asked to call police. Reporting in Clinton Township this morning, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
All right, Priya, thank you so much. Police in Oak Park are looking for the driver who they say hit and killed a veteran. We're told a 71-year-old man in a wheelchair was hit about 1:30 on Saturday morning near 9 Mile and Harding. It took police about 4 hours to find him after that crash. They're looking for a dark-colored Kia or Hyundai. Take a look at the screen. Anybody with information is asked to call Oak Park Police. That number is 248-691-7447. Happening today, John Skelton, the man accused of kidnapping and killing his 3 sons, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner, he's heading back to court. He's facing a probable cause hearing to determine if there is enough evidence to move forward with that case. Skelton was about to finish a 15-year sentence for unlawful imprisonment when he was charged with murder. Court records reveal he searched online for ways to kill someone around the time his sons vanished in 2010. Well, happening at any moment now, the people accused in the ambush shooting of a Macomb County businessman, they go before a judge. Jason Martin, along with Dawn and Richard Huffman, are accused of plotting and shooting Eddie Jawad outside of his home. Investigators say the shooting was to cover up thousands of dollars embezzled from Jawad. He was shot in the legs but survived. We're hoping to bring you there live shortly. Now to downtown Detroit, where Mayor Mike Duggan, along with other city leaders, will announce big changes coming to the city's bus system. They're unveiling a major overhaul, including a new bus fleet and union contracts to boost service and reliability. They're going to make the announcement in less than 30 minutes. We're going to have more for you on that in later editions of Local 4 News. Well, take a look. You can see the Campus Martius tree. Actually, you can't. It's right there. It's underneath me. I'm like the topper of the tree. Well, it was lit. And then this Thursday, floats are going to roll down Woodward for America's Thanksgiving Parade. That means that Friday marks the start of the holiday shopping rush. According to the National Retail Federation, nearly 187 million Americans plan to shop the Thanksgiving weekend, with 130 million Americans shopping on Black Friday. The Federation also says holiday spending is expected to surpass $1 trillion for the first time during November and December, with nearly $12 billion estimated to be on Black Friday alone. But the days of crowding into stores are fading. Online and mobile purchases have surpassed traditional shopping, even on Black Friday. So what's the better deal, heading to the store or shopping from your couch? And how do you make sure the sales are actually worth it? We're joined now by the money-saving expert, Andrea Warrock, to tell us what to buy and what to avoid. Andrea, thank you so much. Obviously, the deals are all over the place, but you just can't navigate them easily anymore.
Yes, and I think, there's a lot of confusion. What should I be buying now? How do I know I'm getting a good deal? The deals have been dropping since October. So a lot of people are nervous about when to buy, but they definitely want to take advantage of the sales to stretch their budgets more than ever.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, how do you do that then? How do you know that the deal is good right now versus when it could change again in a week or 2 weeks or a month?
Yeah, so I'm going to dig into some tools, but let me give you a little guide. Some of the best deals during Black Friday are going to be on popular tech, video gaming consoles, personal tech like headphones or laptops, as well as those big screen TVs. You also, kitchen gadgets and floor care have always been a good deal, 40 to 50% off air fryers, pressure cookers, and vacuums. And then I'm also seeing a good deal on even top toys. You're not going to get a huge discount, maybe 25 to 30% off, but if it's a hot holiday toy and it's on your kids' list, buy it if you see it on sale, because it will sell out if you don't. And then even think beyond regular products. You could find deals on services in your area. Some things you want to wait to buy. Winter apparel, if it's not a gift, will be on clearance after Christmas. Furniture deals are typically better in the new year during long holiday weekends. And then clothing, beauty, footwear, you will find site-wide sales on Cyber Monday. Now, to determine if you're getting a good deal, use price history tools. There are AI tools like Amazon Rufus on Amazon that will show you price history. Also, Honey and Camel.com can tell you if you're getting a good deal on Black Friday or any other day during this season.
As we talked about earlier, it seems like the days of doorbusters are fading fast. Are there still deals to be had? Do we still wait and camp outside of Best Buy, or is everything online now?
You can definitely find a variety of deals online versus in-store, and retailers will still try to lure you into their doors by having in-store only sales, or perhaps they're doing some in-store giveaways or experiences, and people are definitely doing a mix of online, in-store, and even mobile shopping. And you know what? If you shop online, one of my big tips is to look for the local retailer that has it in stock, even if that means driving a little further distance and choosing the curbside pickup. Because if it's a good deal on a popular gift, it could sell out. And if you wait for it to be delivered to your doorstep, unfortunately, there's a situation where it could be canceled in the event they are out of stock before they fulfill your order. So I really like doing that combination. Also, make sure you're signing up for those loyalty programs. This will give you some extra perks, maybe an extra coupon for a bigger discount on your order, maybe free shipping both ways, rewards back on your purchase that you could use later in the season to save. And then, I mentioned AI. A study from Bread Financial found that more people are using AI to get inspiration on their gifts, but this is also a great way to find savings. You could tap into Google Gemini or ChatGPT to help you hunt down for deals. Just ask them different questions. They could give you, a rundown of who's offering the best deal right now.
One thing that I like to do a lot, as you mentioned about going to the stores to pick things up, is ordering it online and then choosing the pickup in store option, because it normally gives you about 7 days, so you can kind of work around your schedule to get there to pick it up.
Exactly. And you know what else is great too? If you sign up for those store membership programs, now there is an annual fee. However, they do offer free trials, which you could take advantage of this week. Say you need to get something shipped to a loved one, or, this could be later in December, closer to the holiday. You could get same day, next day delivery included. And that could be a great way to avoid those high shipping fees as well at the last minute.
Is there any website or anybody out there that's kind of cultivating the best list of the best deals come Black Friday?
Yeah, there's definitely a variety of sites. One that I've found I like is blackfriday.com. They aggregate all the Black Friday circulars in one place, but you could basically Google whatever product you're looking for. Say it's a laptop or a toy for your child. Google the name of the product and, like I said, ask who has the best deal, or just best deals on X product. And you'll get a list of different sites that have done a roundup on the best deals. I mean, everybody's covering this right now.
All right, now let's just say hypothetically, I'm a guy and I might not know what to get my significant other, hypothetically.
hypothetically, yeah, this is a question that a lot of people are worried about. And again, this is where AI can help you out. It's a tool that can give you some personalized recommendations as well as give you gift ideas for the hard to give. So that would be a great idea. I'm constantly looking for new ideas, even for my kids who I feel like have everything. So I even can go to Amazon, and a lot of these retailers will curate gift ideas for different ages or different people in your life. And so I love going through those product roundups.
All right, Andrea, now where can I buy that painting behind you?
Do you love this? I think I got that at Home Goods, actually, which is always a good deal.
All right, Andrea Warrock, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks.
All right, well, we just talked about getting the best deals, but how do you make sure what you're buying is actually legit? Up next, a checklist to make sure your gifts are safe. But before we go to break, let's check the stock market futures board. Futures are mixed as the market fights to recover ahead of Thanksgiving. Remember, the market closes Thursday for the holiday and early at 1 p.m. on Friday. We can't get the board, obviously, but oh, there it is. Stocks are trying to build on a strong rebound from Friday after the Fed hinted at a possible rate cut in December. But throughout the month, major stocks, including tech and AI, have struggled. We'll be right back. Well, we just talked about ways to get the best deal when it comes to online shopping or Black Friday shopping, but a new consumer report found there are a few things to keep in mind to make sure you're getting a safe product. Here's Rhonda Walker.
Holiday shopping is underway. Some picking things out in person, others turning online for convenience.
I like to come to these places like this to see the products, but I also like to buy online.
But it doesn't always go smoothly.
It can be easier, but sometimes you end up sending a lot back.
And it's more than just returns. On sites like Amazon, Walmart, and Temu, you may be buying from third-party sellers rather than the retailer itself, and that can make it harder to hold the sellers accountable for unsafe or defective products. Consumer Reports investigations have found that products sold by third-party sellers can be fake, dangerous, and fail to meet U.S. safety standards.
If you buy a product at a brick and mortar store and it causes harm, the retailer can be held responsible. But when you buy from a third-party seller on an online marketplace, that liability isn't always the same. Some third-party sellers may be unreachable or unaccountable for the harms caused by their products. And in many cases, the online platform can claim it's just the middleman.
Consumer Reports recommends sticking with sellers that you trust. If the marketplace itself is listed as the seller, that's generally safer. If you're interested in a product listed by a third party, stick with well-known and reputable brands. Some products need the highest level of scrutiny. Things like toys, anything with lithium-ion batteries, or small enough for a child to swallow. Here's something else to consider. Badges like Amazon Choice or Etsy Pick. Well, that might catch your eye, but it's not always clear how those products are selected. And keep in mind that fake and paid-for reviews are common. So focus on detailed reviews, especially if multiple people mention the same issue. And how do you know you're getting the best deal? Start with comparison sites like Google Shopping, Price Grabber, and Shopzilla. Or check deal sites such as Deal News and Got a Deal, where you can even sign up for alerts on products or categories you're keeping an eye on.
Sometimes just leaving something in your cart can trigger a discount email, and it helps to join store loyalty programs or follow brands on social media because that's where they tend to drop coupons and promotions.
And remember, sponsored listings are paid placements, not necessarily better deals. Bottom line, a little caution online can save you money and help keep your family safe.
And that was Rhonda Walker for us. Consumer Report says if you're buying a big item, try to see it in person first and always check the return policy. The bigger the product, the harder it is to send back if it's not what you expected. Well, coming up, rain, wind, snow. Ashley has a little bit of all of that in her Thanksgiving week forecast. What to know if you're traveling or heading out to America's Thanksgiving parade. Plus, before next Saturday's Ohio State-Michigan game, a different type of blood feud is brewing. A live look at the Big House, how you can help with a great cause coming up. Welcome back. It's officially Michigan versus Ohio State week, the rivalry everyone knows as the blood feud. To kick things off, though, the 43rd annual blood battle took place Sunday at the Big House. This feud is part of a larger We Give Blood challenge among all the Big Ten schools. While it's all about competition, the real winner is the fight against the national blood shortage.
I really do see the impact that those blood donations make on our patients every day, and it really is amazing how much of a difference that donation makes on our population. For the last 3 years, Ohio State has been winning the blood battle. However, we are ahead of them in the We Give Blood competition.
Now, if you missed the event but still want to participate in the blood battle, there are appointments available through Wednesday. Just head over to the Red Cross's website to book your appointments. All right, Ashley's forecast as you look live over downtown Detroit right now. Today is the day that you want to be outside doing something if you have to, because the rest of the week goes down and down and down. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
For this holiday week, we have some big swings in the forecast, about a 20-degree swing downward within a 48-hour span. So from warmer to much colder across Metro Detroit. Tomorrow, we're back in the 50s, much like today. But today's the pick day because we're dry. Rain showers will be draping the area, especially for the first half of your Tuesday. And before you know it, on Thanksgiving, highs only in the 30s, and you might even see a couple lake effect flurries flying from time to time. So your out the door forecast for this holiday week. Above average start to the week today and tomorrow. 50s, but the rain arrives tomorrow. And then we turn really windy on Wednesday. Bigger cool down Thanksgiving through the weekend, where we have some flurries and even a wintry mix to end the weekend. So we want to make sure you're prepared for holiday travel. Starting with today, if you're getting an early start, there could be moderate impacts from the roads to the skies because of a stronger storm system that's pushing out of Texas and going to be stretching up towards the western edge of the Great Lakes. So for, I would say, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, getting part of that later on today. You'll just want to double check if you are catching a flight that there are no minor delays from that system. That strong upper level low will then impact portions of not just the Great Lakes, but into the eastern portion of the U.S. come tomorrow. So that's your travel forecast come tomorrow with rain in our forecast here. But you can see a moderate travel impact from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf states. Now that northern tier of Minnesota stretching up towards Canada could have a higher impact because of the weather. Let's give you an hour by hour look at what's ahead. So we do have the increasing clouds as the day rolls on, and then our rain could arrive just before midnight, but that will start in the southwest and then overtake the area through the overnight and into your morning rush hour drive. So forewarning you, give yourself a couple extra minutes on the roads tomorrow because you're contending with the rain that could slow down the speeds, and you're likely not using your cruise control in these conditions. That rain persists throughout the morning into the early afternoon, but by late evening, maybe a spotty little isolated chance, but overall we're drying things out. But the winds begin to pick up with a stronger cold front that passes through Wednesday. We could be in that 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gust range with isolated gusts closer to 45. So whipping winds that'll still keep us pretty breezy on Thursday, 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts, which we'll keep a close eye on because of the big balloons that go down Woodward Avenue. Travel impacts Wednesday ahead of Thanksgiving. We have a moderate impact along the eastern seaboard. So that whole system would be shifting farther east. So if your travels take you there, just use some extra caution. Your Thanksgiving forecast, though, showing that we'll be in the 30s, cold, breezy, with maybe a few flakes flying. I do want to kind of show you what that feels like temperature is going to be throughout the morning. If you're standing along Woodward Avenue, upper teens and low 20s because of those windy conditions. Couple flakes will be flying. You see these are all lake effect generated, started Wednesday night through the weekend. But if you're traveling Sunday, the tail end of the holiday weekend, we're contending with a wintry mix from Michigan all the way off west towards the plains, and that could make for some tricky travel. But before we get there, Saturday should be relatively dry, mostly cloudy, but cold for those that are going to be in the big house. Plan for low 30s throughout the game. Otherwise, we do rise to about 40 for the tail end of the holiday weekend.
Ashley, thank you much. Amazon rolls out drone delivery in another Metro Detroit city. We're going to tell you where you may see drones flying overhead. And then if you're one of the millions traveling to be with your family or friends this Thanksgiving, one day will be busier than others at the airport. The day you may want to get there a little earlier than you normally would. Let's take a live look over Metro Airport now, where the holiday travel season is in full swing. Officials with the FAA say this year's travel rush is shaping up to be the busiest in more than a decade, with more than 300,000 flights expected this week. Tomorrow will be the peak travel day. Now on the ground, AAA says 2.3 million Michiganders plan to hit the road between now and Thanksgiving. Amazon is now using drones to deliver some packages in Hazel Park. There are some limits, though. The product has to be stocked at a facility within 8 miles of your house, and packages cannot weigh over 5 pounds. The service also costs about $5 extra. Last week, as you can see, we showed you the drone rollout out in Pontiac. A warning now if you are shopping for a child during the holidays. This playpen sold on Amazon is being recalled. The play yards were made in China and sold under the name Anna Queen. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says infants can become trapped under the mattress or between the side of the play yard and the mattress. The company is urging anyone who may own one to stop using it immediately. Well, we know gun violence has impacted far too many lives here in Michigan. Coming up next, we are getting the results of a just-released report looking into solutions to our gun violence problem. We're going to chat with the state's top medical executive when we come back.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you so much for watching. Brand new this morning, we are getting to hear the recommendations from a task force assembled to reduce gun violence in the state of Michigan. This is coming just days before the 4th anniversary of the Oxford High School shooting. The task force included community leaders, state departments, medical experts, members of law enforcement, and more. They spent the last year working on solutions, and the report was released within the last half an hour. Among the recommendations were require waiting periods for gun purchases, increase the eligible age of gun purchases to 21 years old. They also want to strengthen school safety bills and standardize training for school resource officers, and they want to ban the sale of possession of assault weapons. Joining us now to talk about those recommendations and what comes next is Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian, the Chief Medical Executive for the state of Michigan. Doctor, thank you so much. Always good to talk to you. This task force has been gleaning over data and research and conversations for a while now. I know we just talked about the recommendations, but what was your #1 takeaway as you went through this?
Well, you know, the #1 takeaway is that we all really want the same thing. For a long time, this has been seen as a political issue. People really see guns and gun legislation as something that people don't agree on. And we brought together folks from both sides of the aisle. We brought together people who were gun owners. We brought together folks with lived experience. And at the end of the day, everyone wants the same thing, and that is to keep our community safe and to keep our kids safe. And we have to remember that today, across the country and here in Michigan, guns are the leading cause of death in our kids and teens. And I think if you talk to any parent, any grandparent, anyone across the state, we all want to keep our kids safe.
You mentioned a key thing there, and I was anticipating one of the number one arguments or pushback would be from those who are strongly advocating for guns and their rights to bear arms, obviously part of the Constitution. When you had those conversations about the types of weapons, especially assault weapons, what were those conversations like?
Well, again, I think at the end of the day, most people can agree that whatever your feelings are about firearms, we really just want to have safer communities. Nobody wants their unlocked firearm to get into the hands of their 2-year-old. Nobody wants for their local community school to become the site of a school shooting. And so when you think about our commonalities, I think we can really agree on far more than we disagree on.
All right, so looking at the recommendations now, especially the legal the legal age to buy, your recommendation of 21 years old, what would be the next steps if we were to take these and actually make them law?
Well, you know, there's a lot of things that need to happen before any of these can take place. None of this is an overnight solution. And we have a lot of recommendations in the report that aren't legislative solutions. A lot of these are things that we can start doing tomorrow to make our existing gun legislation stronger. Things like public health campaigns. One of the laws that was passed in 2024 was on secure storage. And we need to start now teaching parents and teaching community members what secure storage means, what it is, and how to find free gun locks. So there's a lot that we can do immediately. Now, we also have some legislative fixes, and those are going to take a little bit longer. I think there we really need to, again, find that bipartisan agreement, make sure that we've got legislative champions, and those will take a little bit longer. But we've got in this report some things that we can start doing tomorrow, things that, again, most people agree on, and then we've got a longer-term plan, things that require some legislative changes.
Yeah. You also mentioned strengthening school safety bills and standardized training for school resource officers. Can you dive into that?
Yeah, you know, we have a lot of things that are taking place across our state. A lot of schools have tip lines where if you are feeling unsafe or you've heard about a threat, you can call that in. But we need to standardize those. We need to make sure that every community is using the same tip line so that there's no gaps. A lot of schools are getting school resource officers. And again, that's important, but we need to, again, standardize what it means to be a school resource officer, what kind of training people have. So making sure that our schools are safer is a big part of our recommendations here.
So your recommendations, the report just came out again at 9 o'clock this morning. I know you said you had bipartisan conversations amongst the group that did the research to put this together. Are you anticipating, or have you already received some pushback from others on maybe other sides of the aisle now that the report is visible to everybody?
I'm sure that people will have feelings about the report, but I think, again, if folks take a dive into the content of the report and take a look at, we've got a lot of recommendations. The report is quite long. And if you take a look at the actual content and things that we're recommending, there's a lot of very practical things, a lot of very tangible things, and a lot of things that people can agree upon no matter what their background or their feelings about firearms.
Yeah. You had multiple recommendations in the report, and we've talked about pretty much all of them at this point. Well, at least the highlights. I'm sure there's so many more things in there. If you were to choose one that would be the biggest factor in reducing gun violence, what would it be?
It is hard for me to choose just one. In the press release, you can see we've got a list of the highlights there. But really, we have to think about this as something that needs a public health solution. And that means there is no one quick fix. There's no one overnight change that is going to make gun violence no longer the leading cause of death for our children. This is going to take a long time. This is going to take lots and lots of incremental changes. So that's why it's hard for me to pick just one thing, because we need new laws, we need implementation of existing laws, we need education, we need tools and resources, and most of all, we need people to come together and have conversations.
Well, and speaking of that, by labeling it and categorizing it as a public health issue, do you think that opens the door to stronger and more robust conversations?
I hope so. I think for so long it's been spoken about in a political type of lens. And, I was the chair of the task force, and I'm not a politician. I've never held elected office. I don't ever plan to. I'm a physician and I'm a mom. And I'm really looking at this through the lens of health. Anything that is the number one killer of children is a health issue. And for a long time, it was motor vehicle accidents that were the number one cause of death in our kids. And we made changes. There was a public health approach to those things. And today we've got car seats and seatbelt laws and drunk driving laws and education and safer cars. And all of those things together made motor vehicle accidents no longer the number one cause of death for our kids. So I hope that by doing something similar with gun violence legislation and taking a look at this again through the lens of health and not a political lens, hopefully we can come together and have some really productive conversations.
As you were doing this research and talking to all these people over the course of the past year, is there anything that jumped out and surprised you the most?
Again, I think it was those things that we agree upon. I think I was expecting this to become a really contentious issue. And the conversations that I've had with people, again, across the aisle and with all kinds of different views, have been so productive and have been without anger and without hatred. Because again, at the end of the day, you've got to focus on what we all want and what we have in common. And we all have people in our lives that we love. We've all got kids, whether they're our kids or, kids in our extended family that we care about. And I think when we focus on the people that we love and the people that we care about and the direct impacts to them, I think we have a lot more in common. And again, gun violence now exceeds things like drownings and pediatric cancers as the number one cause of death in our children. And that's a real tragedy because it's entirely preventable.
Yeah. So setting politics aside, whether left or the right, do you think that this report might be the first actual step in the right direction towards solving the issue?
I think so. This report is something that is a first of its kind. Other states are really looking to Michigan because they're seeing us as a leader in this space and in having these conversations and in putting forth something really tangible. Again, we've got a lot of really practical things that we can start doing tomorrow, public health campaigns, resources that we can get out to communities. And then we've got longer term plans that aren't going to happen overnight, that may take years, frankly, to happen. But we've got a roadmap that's built out. And I think that's really important because we need to start thinking about this not only as a problem for today, but as something that we can fix next year and the year after that. We've got to keep chipping away at this issue.
Yeah. Dr. Bagdasarian, thank you so much for your time this morning. And if you're okay with it, I'd like to check in with you in, let's say, 6 months to see what progress we've made since then.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, still ahead, there is renewed interest in bringing an end to the war in Ukraine. New details on peace talks in Geneva, Switzerland, that have once again turned contentious. Welcome back, everybody. President Trump inserted fresh tensions into the high-stakes peace talks on the Russia and Ukraine war over the weekend. As Alice Barr explains, Trump's administration is pressing Ukraine to accept a 28-point peace proposal by Thanksgiving.
Hi there. We're seeing attention to the war in Ukraine surge back to the forefront with President Trump's renewed focus on ending the long and deadly conflict by Thanksgiving, though there are new concerns about the means of getting to peace. In Ukraine, a difficult winter is closing in, with Russian strikes only increasing. Both sides are now targeting the other's heat and power grids. And as the U.S. works to broker a truce by Thanksgiving,
we've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far.
President Trump injecting new tensions in a post accusing Ukraine's leadership of expressing zero gratitude for his administration's efforts, just as high-level U.S. and Ukraine delegations met in Geneva, with the Ukrainians voicing thanks.
We have very good progress, and we are moving forward to the just and lasting peace.
In a joint statement, the U.S. and Ukraine saying they had updated and refined the peace framework President Trump has been pressing for, despite its raising alarm among Ukrainian and European leadership and bipartisan lawmakers for favoring Russia, some even questioning whether it's a U.S. or a Russian proposal.
What the president has put out here is a plan that is very favorable to Russia.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio clarifying the U.S. did author the initial 28-point peace plan that runs counter to several top Ukrainian priorities, calling for Ukraine to give up a fifth of its territory, including portions Russia does not occupy, shrinking the Ukrainian military by about a third and blocking its path to join NATO. President Trump saying there is room to negotiate.
Is this your final offer to Ukraine?
No, not my final.
European allies pushing to strengthen the terms for Ukraine and weaken the risk of further Russian aggression. In a new statement, Ukrainian President Zelensky said his country is grateful to the United States, to every American heart, and personally to President Trump. He previously said the peace proposal was forcing Ukraine to choose between losing its dignity or a key partner. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
A live look over Ford Field right now. It took until overtime, but the Lions got the job done against the Giants yesterday afternoon. Dan Campbell calling plays once again for the Lions on the sidelines. Thanks to some key plays and 3 touchdowns from Gibbs and a 59-yard field goal from Jake Bates, the Lions took the win. Now the Lions are on a short break to prepare for the annual Thanksgiving game. This is going to be their 3rd game in 11 days, but the players are ready.
We're used to the tradition of this. We've played Green Bay in this game before, so they have some familiarity with it too. And division game at our place, Thanksgiving, everything you want, and they're a great team, and we'll be ready.
Continue to improve. It's this point of the year that we're going to be playing our best football, end of November, going into December, January. This is time where we make that push, and it's one game at a time. So we found a way. So hats off to us about that, but we're just focused on the next one.
Well, kickoff for the Thanksgiving game is at 1 o'clock. Detroit native Jack White will be headlining the halftime show. All right, let's get to your weather. A beautiful shot over downtown Detroit right now. Today is a great day. The rest of the week, not so much. Here's Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
For this holiday week, we have some big swings in the forecast, about a 20-degree swing downward within a 48-hour span. So from warmer to much colder across Metro Detroit. Tomorrow, we're back in the 50s, much like today. But today's the pick day because we're dry. Rain showers will be draping the area, especially for the first half of your Tuesday. And before you know it, on Thanksgiving, highs only in the 30s, and you might even see a couple lake effect flurries flying from time to time. So your out the door forecast for this holiday week. Above average start to the week today and tomorrow. 50s, but the rain arrives tomorrow. And then we turn really windy on Wednesday. Bigger cool down Thanksgiving through the weekend, where we have some flurries and even a wintry mix to end the weekend. So we want to make sure you're prepared for holiday travel. Starting with today, if you're getting an early start, there could be moderate impacts from the roads to the skies because of a stronger storm system that's pushing out of Texas and going to be stretching up towards the western edge of the Great Lakes. So for, I would say, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, getting part of that later on today. You'll just want to double check if you are catching a flight that there are no minor delays from that system. That strong upper level low will then impact portions of not just the Great Lakes, but into the eastern portion of the U.S. come tomorrow. So that's your travel forecast come tomorrow with rain in our forecast here. But you can see a moderate travel impact from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf states. Now that northern tier of Minnesota stretching up towards Canada could have a higher impact because of the weather. Let's give you an hour by hour look at what's ahead. So we do have the increasing clouds as the day rolls on, and then our rain could arrive just before midnight, but that will start in the southwest and then overtake the area through the overnight and into your morning rush hour drive. So forewarning you, give yourself a couple extra minutes on the roads tomorrow because you're contending with the rain that could slow down the speeds, and you're likely not using your cruise control in these conditions. That rain persists throughout the morning into the early afternoon, but by late evening, maybe a spotty little isolated chance, but overall we're drying things out. But the winds begin to pick up with a stronger cold front that passes through Wednesday. We could be in that 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gust range with isolated gusts closer to 45. So whipping winds that'll still keep us pretty breezy on Thursday, 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts, which we'll keep a close eye on because of the big balloons that go down Woodward Avenue. Travel impacts Wednesday ahead of Thanksgiving. We have a moderate impact along the eastern seaboard. So that whole system would be shifting farther east. So if your travels take you there, just use some extra caution. Your Thanksgiving forecast, though, showing that we'll be in the 30s, cold, breezy, with maybe a few flakes flying. I do want to kind of show you what that feels like temperature is going to be throughout the morning. If you're standing along Woodward Avenue, upper teens and low 20s because of those windy conditions. Couple flakes will be flying. You see these are all lake effect generated, started Wednesday night through the weekend. But if you're traveling Sunday, the tail end of the holiday weekend, we're contending with a wintry mix from Michigan all the way off west towards the plains, and that could make for some tricky travel. But before we get there, Saturday should be relatively dry, mostly cloudy, but cold for those that are going to be in the big house. Plan for low 30s throughout the game. Otherwise, we do rise to about 40 for the tail end of the holiday weekend.
Ashley, thank you much. America's Thanksgiving parade steps off in 3 days. All the holiday magic starts months in advance, though, with a brainstorming session. Next, we're going to pull back the curtain to find out how the parade floats come to reality. Well, America's Thanksgiving Parade, presented by Gardner White, is a tradition for many of our families, but we don't always see the people or the work happening behind the holiday magic. I got an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour at how parade floats come to life.
There's your truss. There's all your steel work. Everything's riding on your farm chassis.
A behind-the-scenes tour inside the parade company is astonishing to see how these massive floats come together. But the process actually starts months before. A client signs a 3-year contract, then the think tank begins.
So we start firing questions about what's the messaging, what is it that you're trying to tell people in this design?
That's when Tony Michaels and the parade company team will take all of those ideas into their own meeting, trying to conceptualize how to convey a message on a float. Then they send those ideas to an artist named Jimmy Thompson.
And then he's got to take the pencil to the paper on what we decided and bring it to life.
And 4 to 5 weeks later,
he'll come back to us with a black and white pencil drawing.
So this is Ford's float this year.
This is Ford's float this year, but this isn't the official.
That's because there's more meetings and more changes.
We then, once it's approved, we go to color.
They went through that process 8 times in all this year, including with DTE's new float.
What surprised me most was the ability to grab these ideas out of the air and start to make them real. That is a talent that I don't think exists in many places.
So once the drawings are finally approved,
we call it rod sculpting.
That's when assistant art director Alex Federico and the rest of the artist team start their brainstorming.
Really almost difficult, impossible task of trying to turn this 120-foot float design into reality.
There's no blueprints, no schematics, just a drawing.
You go to school, you do all the studio classes, you're doing carpentry, metalwork, ceramics, painting, and you get to apply all that stuff to this job.
But equally important to the art is the structure within. There's hydraulics, motors, entire systems to make pieces move up and down. But on top of all that, these floats almost have to be earthquake-proof.
There's a whole skeleton to these things that nobody will ever see. So that way, if the head cracks at the neck, we don't have a decapitated character going down Woodward. Yeah, I know. It's not Halloween, it's Thanksgiving.
Even scarier, though, is the timeline, because sometimes those final drawings don't get final approval until the fall.
So we're just kind of piling work on work, and next thing you know, we got to build 5 floats in 4 weeks.
We've never built any of these before, so there is no template. You just don't know what you don't know, and we go through all of it. And everybody coming together as a team to pull off what we do on Thanksgiving morning.
And if you haven't heard already, Local 4 is your exclusive home for the parade. Our special coverage starts right here at 6 a.m. on Thursday, leading up to the parade at 9 o'clock. And we have so much more coming up throughout the day here on Local 4. Guess who's here? Tati and Kim from Live in the D.
Hello.
Fresh off a tree lighting ceremony in downtown
I
Detroit.
know. Oh, what an
Pretty
amazing
glam,
night.
sitting in that little chalet.
We got the best spot.
We did get the best spot, but I cannot take any credit for the outfit situation.
No?
That was Kim DeJulio saying we need to coordinate.
Well, and then you coordinated, so you do get credit.
Okay. She was like, I'm wearing this. I was like, bet.
I was like, match me, okay?
I was like, done.
Yes, but no, it was incredible, and like everyone coming out, the perfect weather night. By the way, it was not raining, which I know we were worried about a little bit in the beginning of the week.
Don't talk to me about
And it was
weather,
perfect.
all right?
I know, right? We got the parade coming.
Parade is Thursday,
Yes.
and Ashley says wind chills in the teens.
That's okay. Remember, just like think that it's not going to be, and then it will pass.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Manifesting skills right here. We could all learn a thing or two from Kim. But
We got 60 seconds. What's Live in the D
Music
today?
Monday, White Lotus Farms.
Yes, I'm so excited. This really cool farm opened up a cafe in Ann Arbor. They're going to bring some of their goodies.
Okay.
I really am excited for Music Monday as well, because this singer has a really cool story. She, I think it was tore her ACL, sat on the couch for 6 months, taught herself all the things that she needs to know to become a
couple
musician.
of different musical instruments.
Yes.
Literally.
Really?
Yes.
And she was telling the story, and I was like, so you're a child prodigy? And she was like, I guess so, right?
She said it was the best
Where's she
injury
from?
ever.
Here? Local. Right, baby.
Right here.
Right. Local 4.
You're going to love her.
Yes, you're going to love her. Tune in.
That is amazing.
That sounds awesome. Okay, so we got music, we got food.
Yep, and we got a whole lot of fun. A lot of good talkers today as well.
Yeah, so you make sure to tune in and you want to hear all the tea.
Your talk is always so fun, too.
I know.
Like we know.
Remember?
We're amazing.
That's why, yeah. We're amazing.
Somebody
Join
put too
us.
much espresso upstairs today.
This is just natural. You just wait till we have the espresso.
Thanks for joining us for Local 4 Live, everybody. Make it a great Monday.